I'm in a mastermind, and we met in person at the in December and kind of mapped out our year. And I came and I was like, here's everything I'm going to get done this year. And one of them said, hey, Francine, being the coach of busyness, that feels like an awful lot. Have you thought of doing a time study? And when I did the times, so I picked like the top 3 things. I think I'm at working 47 hours a week.
Wowza.
Right. So it's important to be realistic. Right.
Yeah.
So I used to do time studies when I was in corporate, but I really haven't done it as an entrepreneur. Right. Because I'm just getting shit done. But when I did it, and I thanked her, I was like, thank you for doing that, because it really helped put things in perspective for me. Because I do, and I may get to the other things later in the year. And I knew it wasn't all Q1, but, as entrepreneurs, we're like, I want to do this and I want to do this. And oh, this has to get done. And then nothing happens
That's
because we
right.
get paralyzed in the overwhelm. Right. So it is important to be like, okay, here's my list of 20. I'm focusing on 2.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
And I think it's different for everyone, right? Like as business owners, okay, I might want to focus on what's going to bring me revenue and what's going to, light me up. Like I also have a podcast. I love my pod. Like that lights me up. Doesn't necessarily bring me money, but it lights me up. So I'm going to continue to do that. But I shifted the way I do it. I do 1 recording a week. When I first started it in July, I just opened my calendar and whenever anybody scheduled was fine. That doesn't work, right? So now I do it 1 a week.
Yeah.
I still get to
Beautiful.
do it.
And what I see there is you do what brings you joy with boundaries around it.
Yep.
So it can continue to light you up.
And I will add, my boundaries can be flexible, right? Like I have one woman, I only record on Wednesdays, and one person I'm going to record with, she's like, honestly, I can't. I'm like, that's okay. But it will be on I think she can do Fridays. It will be on a Friday that works for me. Right. So having flexible boundaries, right? That doesn't mean you can walk on me, but that means, okay, I say I'm going to do it on Wednesday, but I can do it on a Tuesday or a Thursday if it's not a big deal, or a Friday or a Monday. Right. So
Absolutely.
it's having that level of flexibility. And on the week that I do hers, I won't do another one on the Wednesday.
Yeah. And what I'll add to that, I mean, such a really important thing to point out is if you are busy and you have every single day scheduled out to the 15-minute, you have no place to be flexible.
No. And I will share with you, I am not the time blocking. That is something that has never worked for me. I'm trying to get a little bit better with it in 2025, just because there are things that I want to get done. But for me, the minute I time block feels restrictive. I
Yeah.
need that space to allow myself to be creative. You said you have late diagnosis ADD. I probably have like my husband has ADD. I don't have what he has, but I have my own version of it.
Yeah.
Right. So I could be like, oh, this is fun. Now I want to do this. Oh, this is fun. Right. So if I had to be like, oh, nope, from 2 to 3, you have to work on this, that would feel restrictive to me. And that's not fun. Right. So for me, I want to do what's fun.
I feel exactly the same way. And I think you probably have the same ADD that I have, because I will start something and I will do it until it's not fun and enjoyable anymore. And then I'm done with that, whether it's completed or not.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Can
if
I
I'm
add to
not
that?
using my tools and I'm not taking my meds.
And what I would also add, because I know this in me, I don't know if it's the same in you. When it triggers something in me, in the I don't know how to do that, like my, you know, I unworthiness, my not good enough, when it triggers something in me, when I get stuck, I automatically like, oh, let me go have a snack. Oh, let me go on social. Then I have to go, okay, you're not actually hungry. So
Yeah.
let's look at what's going on. Because I can get into something, and then when it feels squirmy because it doesn't feel good, I may tap it out and see what's going on, because there's something else usually going on. Like often, I mean, uh, for those that aren't listening, that aren't watching, but I used to weigh 300 pounds, so I don't anymore, right? So food is my solace, and it
Yeah.
still is, right? So I have an addiction to food, right? I've got that. So the busyness then, probably filled that when I lost the weight almost 30 years ago. So that filled that. So when I get squirmy, my response is, let me go get a snack.
Yeah. Yep.
And it has taken a while for me to do the check-in of like, huh, are you actually hungry? You're not. Go sit your ass back down.
Yeah.
Do
Good for you.
something else. But
Still
it's,
though,
yeah,
having that awareness, even to just start with an awareness is a
yeah,
great place to start.
yeah.
It's amazing.
And
So we've used words in this conversation like niche and purpose and joy and all the things. Let's talk about, in our life of busyness and not knowing our purpose or our niche or how to even find our joy. What do you say to someone who feels very far away from ease or fulfillment right now?
yeah.
What's the first step to encourage them toward living the life of purpose, the life that they're meant for?
So I think you already answered it. It's awareness, right? It's
Mm,
actually just starting. Often clients come to me because they want to work on their business or they want to work on their relationship or the thing. And while that's here, we start looking at the other things,
yeah,
right? And that's, a lot of that is through questions. I have an intake form, they answer questions, and then questions that I ask them that they're like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. I had one client recently who, she's like, I don't always remember things when I'm at work. People say they had these conversations with me. I was like, oh, sweetheart, you're not in your body, right? Like I need you to just get in your body. And she was
yeah,
like, oh, so we did a thing and she was like, oh, that feels interesting, right? So like it's this level of awareness that change comes with awareness, and I don't fault anyone for not changing if they're not aware of their actions or behaviors, right?
that's
Or
right.
their responses. And often I'll have clients that have these big breakthroughs and they're like, now what? I'm like, nothing. You just go live in your life, right? It's not like the sky opens and the angels come down and go, good job,
But
Francine,
we want
right?
that.
Yeah, of course, right? But um, it really does start with just awareness and curiosity,
Yeah,
right? Like me with that boss, like, why does she trigger me? Like, what's going on in me that is having that response?
yeah. So beautiful. And giving yourself the time away from the busyness opens up that energetic space for the awareness.
100%, 100%. And I would say my word of the year, I kind of got on the bandwagon a few years ago with having words of the year. My word of the year this year is intentional. And that plays in with me even releasing that last bit of busyness that I have, because I'm really good at getting shit done, but I'm not really good at being intentional with the things that I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
Choosing where I want to show up, choosing what I want to do, and creating space in my calendar. So the one thing I am time blocking more of is a 90-minute lunch break so I can go for a walk or maybe work out or do the things that I want to do versus like, oh shit, there's no lunch on my calendar today. I'm going to be chewing while I talk to Pascal, right? Like,
which,
so
by the way, I'm here for it. You want
good
to
to
eat your
know.
salad while we're chit chatting? I'm down for it. I'm good with that.
Right. But that, like, being
Yeah.
intentional with like creating space, because we often don't create space. And I do think, I'll share, for me, entrepreneurship is fairly new. I've been a coach for 12 years, but only full time since 2020. And it's different that, like, I was a leader in a corporate setting, right? I had employees and I had a boss. The boss told me what to do, I told the employees what to do, and I made sure in between everything got done. I remember I got laid off about 8 years ago and I was like, great, I can coach full time. And I realized real quickly I didn't really like being home alone and having to do, like, oh, I have to do all the shit too. That's a problem. And
Yeah.
when it happened again in 2020, the transition was a little bit easier. Everybody else was home. So it made it different this time. And I often say I manifested the pandemic because my guides in the universe were like, bitch, we need you to do what we need to do. And the only way you're going to do it is if we shut the world down. So yes,
Finally, we have someone to blame.
yeah, it wasn't
Ladies and
China, it
gentlemen,
was all
here
me.
you go.
Yeah. But I've had to learn, like, oh, I do marketing and bookkeeping and sales and all the things, and having to find that balance. And then, so I thought I had to stay busy to get shit done. And I'm like, I've been busy and I'm doing less, I have less clients.
Yeah.
What happened? Right?
Yep.
Because I wasn't creating space to actually attract them in.
Yes. Yes. So I love that you're like, oh, my word for the year is intentionality. I this year stopped having a word for the year and I set an intention for the year. And so I do not believe in New Year's resolutions because, again, I think that they are this
They
pie
set
in
us up to
the
fail. Like,
wheel.
I'm like probably the only coach that doesn't set goals with their clients.
Yeah.
I like intentions more than goals. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think when we set New Year's resolutions, we're setting ourselves up for failure. We're setting ourselves up for hits to our self-worth.
Right.
What I have done this year is I have set the intention of more creativity.
That
Why?
was mine last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Creativity. I was just in December at the Massachusetts Conference for Women,
Yeah.
and there was a little booth set up, and I want to give her a shout out, but I can't remember her name in this moment, but I am going to have her on as a guest.
Yeah.
And she had this little painting booth set up, and you got this little 4x6 canvas. I wasn't going to do it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to do it. Can I just tell you, when I took that paintbrush and I put that first blue swirl on the canvas, something opened up inside of me. I had a shift.
I love that.
I love that painting so much. I took a picture of it. It's on my vision board. I've posted it to social media, like all the things. And what I realized is I haven't felt alive because I haven't been nurturing my creativity.
Yeah.
I felt so alive doing that 4x6 painting with primary colors.
That's beautiful. So the reason I chose creativity last year was because my story was I'm not creative.
Ah,
And I had to stop saying that because I'm a hairdresser, right? But I'm
pretty
not
darn
creative
creative.
like you are. I'm not an artist. I'm not that creative. So I was comparing myself, right? Um, I also learned a little bit about my human design this year, and I'm a manifesting generator who responds. And that made so much sense to me. Like, if you give me a thing, I will get it done for you. But if I have a blank canvas, I get paralyzed.
Yep.
Thank you, ChatGPT has helped me. So, I'm like, I want to do a workshop on this. And it gives me, it gives me something to start with. Then I go in and put it my own, right? But I had to really learn to rephrase the I'm not creative because I am creative, because that was, I think, stifling me in my business because I wasn't creating clients. I wasn't creating, the things because this story, and it got bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Right? People come into my house and they're like, "Oh, your house is cute." Like, I don't have a lot of things on the wall. Like, I'm not a designer, right? I'm not that, but I'm creative for me and my taste and style.
And look at your background. You're so creative. It's so
Right.
colorful. It's so organized. It's so the layout, it just flows energetically and it's beautiful. And so, we come to this earth to be creative beings. It's what we do as humans. We innately are creators. And that can look like so many different things, whether it's how you cook, it's artistic abilities, it is truly how you put things together in your environment. It's your wardrobe. It is your pairing of wine with food. It's all the things, right? We need to broaden our idea of what creativity is so that we all realize that we're creative beings.
Yeah. And it goes back to not comparing to what everyone else is doing, right?
That's right.
So owning my own level of creativity versus yours are two different things.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm a Picasso. I'm not going to be necessarily putting canvases up in art galleries, right?
Right.
That doesn't matter. The
No.
creativity is, it feeds your soul.
Right.
So, what do you do? And now I'm speaking to everyone who's listening. What do you do in your life that feeds your soul? And how can you do more of that and be more creative with it?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Very don't need an answer right now. I just want everybody to sit with that question.
Yeah. You know, for me, I'm going to actually, like, for me, what feeds my soul is connections to others.
Yeah.
You know, when I was recovering from my knee surgery, this probably happened with hip, but like that was a year ago and it feels so long. I felt isolated. And that's when I had my darker days, right? Like because I need I thrive off of connecting with others' energy. I love my husband, but 24/7 I was like, can someone else show up here?
Yeah. I'm tired of me. I'm tired of him.
Right,
Something
exactly.
new.
Yeah. So like that feeds my soul when I'm out and about with people. Even if my husband I go sit at a bar to have lunch or dinner and there's other people around.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in the vein of feeding our souls, I feel like women of a certain age, which
Mm-hmm.
we are, and everyone can interpret what a certain age means for
Sure.
themselves. We're looking for more joy. We're looking for more fulfillment. What mindset shifts or what practices do you recommend for women of a certain age to
Yeah.
reconnect with what really lights them up?
So I will tell you, this is what started my personal development journey. I actually have, I think it's on my website. I wrote a blog called I'm a Straight Woman Trying to Date Other Women. And in my 40s, so I will share, I'm going to be 60 in a little bit more than a month.
Which
So it's,
I still don't believe. Your energy is not
I
60.
know, I know. That's what I keep telling myself. But I was probably in my mid 40s and I looked around and I was like, where did all my girlfriends go?
Yeah.
And I found this women's group that was run by coaches. And, well, I didn't know it at the time because 15 years ago, nobody even knew what a coach was. It was not the buzzword
Right.
it is today, right? So I found this group. They had these monthly meetings. They were called magic parties. And she had these monthly meetings, and each month it was a different topic. And like I went and I was like, I was like, I couldn't wait for the next meeting. And then she did 2 retreats a year. It was run by coaches. I learned what coaching was. I did all that, right? So in that journey, I met this woman and I talk about it in the article. I met this woman at one of the things, and we had a lot in common. And how do you make friends? You have to be willing to be vulnerable. It's like dating. And I was a professional matchmaker and a date and relationship coach for a few years. So it's very similar, right? So for those in New England, there's a big holistic fair every November. And this was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago. I wanted to go to it, and my husband was going to come with me, but he ended up getting mono, um, which most men in their 40s or 50s do not get mono, but he did. So I was like, now what do I do? So I reached out to this friend, and it was like, I mean, I could feel the anxiety, right? I remember like asking the question, hey, I'm going to the expo this week. Do you want to go? And then waiting for the response, right? But we so often don't nurture relationships.
Yeah.
I had a friend recently, we were talking and I was sharing with her, I was like, I really reach out to this friend so much and she doesn't with me. And my friend said to me, she's like, that's really interesting that bothers you. She's like, that doesn't bother me. And she went, oh, my top value is freedom. Yours is connection. And I was like, yeah,
Mm.
But her mom passed away a few months ago, and she sent me a text and she was like, "Thank you for reaching out. I now know what you mean." Right?
Wow.
Like, and I wasn't reaching out because I want it, but hey, how you do? Right? Like, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there. Because I would say 90% of the time, I'm doing more of the putting myself out. Like, hey,
Yeah.
want to get out? Like, I can be like a puppy. Hey, want to go out? Hey, want to go out? Right? But you have to be willing to be vulnerable to be in any relationship.
Yeah.
So ask the friend, the new person, if they want to get coffee, dinner, or drink, whatever it is. And vulnerability isn't about always getting what you want, but it's about asking for what you want.
I love that. And it's remembering that you are responsible for the relationship that you want with another
Right.
person, right? And so I had an experience recently, and that's why this really, brought this back up for me again, is I was like, you know what? I am the one who calls all the time. I'm not calling anymore unless she calls me. And then I sat with that and I
Yeah.
was like, you know what?
Been there.
No, exactly. And I'm like, no, I'm responsible for the relationship that I want. So if I want a relationship where we talk all the time, then I'm responsible for my side of that. And I will do the calling. And for her, it might be enough to only talk every once in a while. Maybe her schedule only allows for it. Maybe her energetic battery only allows for it.
Yeah. What I would say to you, I will share my own experience with that as well, is I also want reciprocal relationships. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
for every one to one. And I had two situations, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I had these two friends that like I always reach out, but there was some reciprocality, and then they would just disappear. So I had to have really hard conversations with both of them and be like, this doesn't work. Like I would have called them both my best friends, right? In different groups.
Yeah.
This doesn't work. You have this great thing going on in your life, and now I'm not a part of it, but I was there when the really bad thing was happening. She's like, I
Yeah.
know, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, just so you understand, like I want a reciprocal relationship. And
Yeah.
the same with the other friend. And then it happened again. I would say in the 2 years ago, I think it's been about 2 years now, that they both fell off. And I had to make a decision this time. And I don't know that it was a conscious decision because there's still a grieving with both
Yeah.
relationship, one more than the other, but with both relationships,
Yeah.
um, that, one friend said to me, well, she could be busy. I'm like, she found a new hairdresser. And they were like, oh, I'm like, so something happened,
Yeah.
but I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to reach out? Well, why do I want that relationship?
That's right.
Right? Like, why do I want a relationship that she couldn't have, if something had happened or I had upset her or whatever, that she couldn't have said it to me? Because I did say it to, like, I did it once and I wasn't gonna, I was clear, and like, that was the hard, that was hard. That was the
Yeah.
vulnerability is a 4-letter word to me, but I do it because in order to be in a relationship, you have to. So with those relationships, I was like, and because I post on, so we're still friends on social, one of them. And she sent me a text when I had my knee done. And, I went, what do I do here? And I was still medicated. So I didn't respond, right? I had to sit with it. And I still never responded because I'm like, this isn't the relationship. We were sisters, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
right? So I don't want phony relationships. I want deep, meaningful relationships where we can have hard conversations too.
Yeah. And the reality is, maybe you didn't do anything.
Right.
Maybe, and most likely, it has nothing to do with you.
I
It's a
100%. Yep.
shift in their world, right? And,
I think it's a shift in my world too. And our
Mhm.
worlds just aren't in alignment anymore,
Agreed.
but it can
Yeah.
still hurt.
It still hurts. There's still a grieving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've covered so many things today. I literally want to keep on talking, but I
Right?
want to be respectful of your time. So I love to ask guests, do you have anything that you would like to offer listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to my website, and I help in this vein of helping women overcome busyness. They then get to make a big ass up level. So there's a freebie on my website that they can go get. And I'm sure put that all in the show notes that will, let them know if they're ready for their big ass up level. And then I do have a program that's going to be launching in the spring. It's called Breaking the Cycle, a 6-week reset for your business. So it's going to integrate EFT coaching and energetic codes. And the codes help release energetic imprints
Mm.
of like judgment, worthiness, money stuff, all that stuff. So it helps release those. So that they can email me because that is not up yet. And they can go on the wait list for that. So we'll put all that in the show notes.
Yep, that's perfect. I have your website for the free download in show notes. Your email is in show notes. I just am going to have you back so we can talk about codes and EFT and all of that.
Yes.
But
Yes,
thank you
absolutely.
so much for being here. It's every conversation I have with you truly brings me more joy. And
Same.
yeah, and let's definitely connect again about talking about EFT and the codes and all of those things.
Absolutely. Would love that.
Any reason to connect with you is a
Yes,
great reason.
absolutely. Thank you so much.